dispatcher and 911 call taker.
Sheriff.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. I'm Multnomah County Sheriff Nicole Morrissey O'Donnell, and today we're taking the time to recognize a moment that captures our community right here in Multnomah County. This is one of those rare moments where courage, calm thinking, and strong training all aligned. And it was a moment that brought two heroes together. Two heroes that were miles apart. And they're here with us today. Community member Solomon Florea and 911 BOAC Senior Dispatcher Holly Campbell. What unfolded between them was a remarkable example of courage, compassion, and skill. And I would like to share the story with you. At approximately 2:30 p.m. on Sunday, November 16th, Solomon looked out at the Columbia River from his home, and he saw something that just didn't sit right. He saw a sailboat, and he also saw what he thought to be a person bobbing in the water. We still don't know how long that the 38-year-old victim had been in the cold water or the circumstances that led to this incident, but Solomon didn't hesitate. He launched his kayak, he paddled toward the man, and he noticed that he was visibly cold and medically declining. Once he reached the victim, Solomon pulled him from the water onto the shore, stabilized him on the shores of Hayden Island, and then he pause for a moment. Once he was able to pull him to the shore, he also wrapped him in layers to try to restore his body temperature. Throughout the rescue, you can also hear the person visibly shivering in the background of the 911 call. And then there was another voice in the recording, one that the public doesn't often hear about, but is in our community helping every single day. That was the voice of the BOAC dispatcher, Holly Campbell, who did an extraordinary job and whose professionalism and skill truly reflects the high standards that we have for our BOAC dispatchers and call takers. The area on Hayden Island where Solomon brought the man to shore has almost no vehicle access, and that was very critical as they were communicating about this incident. But Solomon's knowledge of Hayden Island allowed Holly and her team at BOAC to quickly dispatch our Multnomah County Sheriff's Office River Patrol and the Portland Fire and Rescue Marine Program to the correct location. Holly calmly gave Solomon life-saving instructions and also made sure that the responding units had continued updated information as they were arriving. When firefighters and paramedics arrived, they began treatment, and then they immediately transported the person to the hospital in critical condition. And I'm happy to say that the person is out of the hospital as of today. As we share this story, I want to emphasize that we know we have incredible waterways. Let this also be a reminder of the unpredictability of our rivers and the importance of preparation. Even the strongest swimmers and the most prepared boaters can get overwhelmed in these conditions. What unfolded on the Columbia River that afternoon also reminds us that public safety is not just the work of one person or one profession. And in this case, two people stepped into the roles that really neither of them expected on that day. Solomon, your actions saved a life. Holly, your steady voice and your expertise that you show on the 911 call, truly valued and trusted as our first responders. On behalf of Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, we thank you. And we thank our community for continuing to show up when we need it most. I would like to present some coins to you. I've also asked Deputy Chad Diekman from our River Patrol unit to be here on site today to share some general safety tips. But I also can't stress enough for anyone who will be on or around our waters, no matter what time of the year, it is absolutely essential to be prepared. I'll turn it over to Deputy Diekman for some safety tips.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. As the Sheriff explained earlier, this particular incident could have been much different had Solomon not been involved. And taking the time to see what he saw, made observations, then take quick action in order to help out the victim out of the water. It could have been a much different incident that we'd be talking about. So with that, we've talked about it's my understanding that the victim in this case was wearing a life jacket, had a whistle with him, and had other minimal safety equipment that's required by law with him, which is all great. There are some things, though, that we generally would encourage people to try to do a little bit different in this case, and that would be, go beyond the minimal expectation that would be needed. For example, our waters are relatively cold right now, hovering right around 50 degrees. The time that hypothermia would set in would be a little bit on the shorter side with that water temperature. So wearing things such as an immersion suit, such as a dry suit, and having that when you're going to be out on the water by yourself definitely would help. That would have made a very significant difference in this case for whether or not would happen especially if Solomon hadn't found and observed him in the water at that point. The other thing is make sure you use a buddy system and have other people with you at the time. If somebody else were there in order to be able to call for help, that would have made sure that help was on its way as soon as possible. So that's just a couple of recommendations. Overall, even the Columbia River today looks docile. It is, but it's still about a 2.5 to 3 knot current, which is a pretty significant current if you're swimming in the water, especially at 50 degrees. Our general recommendation, or our general, guidance, if you will, is if you happen to fall in the water unexpectedly, you have about a minute to kind of control yourself and get ready, to control your breathing and get set up. And you have about 10 minutes after that of meaningful movement, of where you can actually do some meaningful movement to self-rescue or to get yourself in a better position. Obviously, those timelines are variable based on how cold the water is. The colder it is, the shorter amount of time that's going to be. So, but in this case with the cold water, my recommendations generally would be make sure you're with a buddy, somebody else that can assist you, and then prepare yourself by going above the minimum standards. In this case, like an immersion suit, dry suit. A wet suit would be also helpful, but the colder water is, then the less useful it's going to be. That's generally what I would have, unless there's something else. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to the sheriff and go from there.
Then we'll go ahead and take some questions.
Can we hear from you guys?
Yep, absolutely. Just go ahead and ask the question
just kind
for
of
Solomon.
Solomon, what you saw, and then,
Situational awareness, I think, is always key, especially when you're on the water. Just, always observing, seeing what's going on. We noticed it, had an eye on it. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of drownings on the water, and thank you to these guys for always being there, regardless of the outcome. So, we just noticed it, and fortunately, I have the ability to get there quickly to see what, see what was going on and to take the right action. Luckily, the victim had his phone on him, so that saved a lot of time, so I was able to get to Holly quickly. And she did a great job of keeping me apprised of when and where and how we were going to sort this out, and just the proper communication. So I think that's kind of how it went. So
how far out into the channel was he, and how long did it take you?
Probably 100 yards he was out, and it took me longer than it should have if he would have had a louder whistle, because we couldn't see exactly what was going on, because it was pretty far from me. So a loud whistle, would have been really great. That's why I let him know when I helped him out getting his belongings out of my place, because of obviously him taking off for the paramedics. So just if I would have heard that more, because he kind of disappeared because of the conditions, I couldn't really see him. Once I got on the water, I could see better, because there's different kind of planes of eyesight. So
Did you just basically grab him alongside your kayak and take him ashore?
basically, yes. Yeah, I conditioned him to the rope, to my line, and then I dragged him over and then took over from there.
Talk about just the time that you spent on the shore with him, what that was like, and
just being there, letting him know that he was not alone because he's in the water for quite some time, understanding and having Holly with me as well, letting him know that help was on the way, and then coordinating with her because she kept me very well apprised of where we were at and where the rescue efforts were coming from, and having the clear communication that where my positioning and where I was actually at. So.
What were conditions like that day? Like this?
No, it was a little colder, a little bit. There was a little bit more of a wind. He was out sailing, so the conditions, a November day. How's that?
Cold and dry?
Cold, but a little bit dry. Yes, go ahead.
What was going on through your mind throughout this process?
I'm just there doing what I would do as a proper, decent human, So I think that just calming him down, and making sure that he knows that he was not alone. It's okay. It's probably a bad dream. It's okay. So.
It sounds like you've met up with him since then.
I have.
How is he?
He's good. So he's healthy, all fingers and toes, got him out of the water in time. Hypothermia does set in. So I think that it was a good learning lesson. So,
How are you so ready to do what it sounds like exactly you're supposed to do? Have you ever encountered anything even remotely close to this? And how are you so ready to jump in?
So situational awareness, something that I teach my employees and people and my students, is about your surroundings and knowing what it is. I think that if you can take away certain things as far as being proactive and not reactive.
You said your employees and students, what do you teach?
Well, I've done a lot of coaching as far as soccer, and that has a lot to do with positioning and what you're where you're coming from. And then as far as employees, I've owned restaurants, I've owned construction companies. So something that you always want to be aware of is what you're looking at, so you have a better chance of making a good decision.
Did you ever expect to take what you learned on the field into the river to save somebody's life?
Absolutely. So it's a philosophy, kind of. So that speeds up reaction time, and that also speeds up the calmness, the ability to communicate with somebody, is all those tools being applied.
I was going to say, Holly, Holly Ray, you seem pretty calm on the other end of that calm. It's kind of your experience with you take calls every day, so just kind of what's going through your mind and making sure that everything's good.
I do take calls every day, and calls like this are not rare, but they don't happen every day. But I do have to say, with Solomon's calm demeanor and his attention to detail, knowing exactly where he was and what the situation was, helped me be able to do my job, to be able to get the resources that were needed there quickly. It helps keep me calm when they're calm. But also my training. We have great training when you're first hired. We have many hours of continuing education and in service that helps us keep up to date on policies and procedures, which help us handle those calls that we don't get every day when they do come in.
This one's different because if I give you an address, you know exactly where to go. This didn't really have an address to go to.
It didn't. And originally I had used the Marino, and after repeating that fire and an ambulance was en route, that's when Solomon was able to give me the detail that actually he was on the other side of the river. So we quickly pivoted and got some boats going to assist in the rescue. But we wouldn't be able to do our job without our partner agencies. It takes a village on these water rescues. We have many. And so the communication that we got from Solomon through me to them and them back, we were able to, keep him apprised and keep the patient calm and know what the status was of his rescue. And so we want to thank the partner agencies as well for assisting me in being able to do my job successfully.
I'm assuming 2 minutes later you picked up another phone call for a totally different situation. To come back and kind of the full circle moment, I guess is what I'm asking about.
We actually don't get the full circle moment very often, so it is kind of nice to be a part of this and to know that it was a success and that the patient was able to be rescued and is healthy and happy. But there's more calls coming, so we really don't have the time at 911 to really focus on what's going on after we hang up the phone, because it's time for the next call to start. So it is kind of nice to be here and see the full circle.
Just for an explanation, can you explain what these coins are?
Yes, they're coined from the sheriff's office with our sheriff's office badge on the front and a picture of the falls on the back. And really, it's an opportunity for us to take this space today to recognize how amazing Holly and Solomon are, that they jumped into action and that they saved a person's life. And that's why we wanted to take the time and space today to recognize them. And it is critically important in our community that we are supporting each other. And it's our obligation, I believe, to also recognize those heroic acts.
A question for Holly. What would you like other dispatch people to know and just about this experience, and what can people learn from the experience?
I think what people can learn from this experience is know your location. You know, I can't do my job unless I have a location, unless I know where to send people to help you. So location is the most important piece. Keeping calm, attention to detail, letting me know everything that's going on so I can communicate that with the partner agencies that are en route.
Do you guys know the time from first phone call to showing up? Okay. Because it was 3 different calls, I could tell. Yeah. Did you have time to grab a life jacket yourself and throw it on?
Of course.
Or just grab the boat and go?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's instinct. You have to grab it, and obviously I know they're going to show up, and so yeah, it's instinct. Anytime you grab a boat, you need your life jacket. It's what it is. I also know that they're going to show up and they're going to frown on me if I don't have it, right? So.
Any other questions? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.